You don't just learn hacking, you learn it the right way. Whether you're someone curious about how hackers think, or you're serious about becoming a cybersecurity professional, you're in the perfect place. Here at Secure7, we don't just teach theory. We go deep into real-world tools, hands-on labs, and mindset training so you can build real hacking skills from scratch. And this isn't just a crash course. This is your full roadmap to becoming a certified ethical hacker. No fluff, no shortcuts, just pure structured content from beginner to advanced. By the end of this masterclass, you'll not only understand how hackers break into systems, you'll know how to stop them. So if you're serious about cybersecurity, go ahead and subscribe, like, and hit that bell icon, because every module builds on the last, and you won't want to miss a single one. All right, let's kick things off with Module 1, Introduction to Ethical Hacking. Hey everyone, and welcome to Module 1 of the Ethical Hacking Masterclass, right here on Secure7. The place where hacking meets purpose. I'm genuinely excited that you've chosen to begin this journey with us. Whether you're a curious beginner, a tech enthusiast, or even someone from IT looking to shift into cybersecurity, this course is designed to help you build real skills from scratch. Now, before we dive deep into commands, exploits, and firewalls, let's take a moment to set the stage. What you'll learn in this module. Over the next few videos, you're going to learn 1. What ethical hacking really is and how it's different from criminal hacking. 2. Types of hackers. White hats, black hats, gray hats. Yes, it's like a digital Wild West out there. 3. Legal and ethical responsibilities, because one wrong click can get you in trouble if you're not careful. 4. Career opportunities. What kind of jobs exist? What certs can help you get hired? We'll break it all down. 5. How to set up your own hacking lab, a safe virtual environment where you can experiment and practice without breaking any laws. Sounds good, right? Quick gossip time. Did you know a 13-year-old once hacked into a school network and changed his grades, and then posted a tutorial on Reddit? Bold move. Not ethical, but shows how early and curious some hackers start. The key difference? Intent and permission. That's what separates ethical hackers from criminals. By the end of this module, you'll not only understand what ethical hacking is, you'll start thinking like a hacker. And that's where transformation begins. So grab your notebook, hydrate, and stick around. This is going to be fun. And hey, if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. Hit that bell too, so you don't miss the next module. Let's move on to Section 1.2. What is ethical hacking? Welcome back to Secure7, and let's get into the real meat of this module. What is ethical hacking? So, what is ethical hacking? Let me break it down in simple terms. Ethical hacking, also called white hat hacking, is when you legally and deliberately break into computer systems to find security flaws before the bad guys do. That's right, you're breaking into systems with permission. It's like when a bank hires someone to test if their vault can be cracked. Not to steal money, but to make sure no one else can. Ethical hackers think like malicious hackers, but act with integrity. You simulate real cyber attacks so companies can fix their defenses. Now here's where it gets cool. Imagine a company as a digital castle. You're the knight who's trying to sneak in, not to attack the king, but to find the secret tunnels before the enemy does. Sounds fun, right? Cyber gossip break. A few years ago, a hacker found a vulnerability on Facebook that let him post on anyone's timeline, including Mark Zuckerberg's. He reported the bug, and although Facebook initially ignored him, the exploit made it public. And guess what? After the backlash, he ended up receiving a bounty reward and major respect from the community. That's the power of ethical hacking. You can expose flaws, help protect people, and even get paid. Why ethical hacking matters. We live in a time when everything is online. Banking, healthcare, government records, even refrigerators. If something has a network, it can be hacked. And companies know that. That's why ethical hackers are in massive demand, from startups to Fortune 500s, from hospitals to military intelligence. And trust me, this field is only growing. Skills used in ethical hacking. As an ethical hacker, you'll learn to scan networks and systems for weaknesses, exploit those weaknesses safely, report findings in clear, professional ways, use tools like Kali Linux, Nmap, Metasploit, Burp Suite, and more. Understand how systems are built and how they break. It's not just about hacking, it's about problem solving, creativity, and thinking like an attacker to build stronger defense. Remember, permission is everything. Hacking without permission, even just out of curiosity, is still illegal. If you're not authorized, it's called black hat hacking. And yes, people go to jail for it every year. Ethical hacking is powerful, but only when it's controlled, legal, and ethical. So to sum it up, ethical hacking is the art of thinking like a hacker, but acting like a professional. You're not just learning how to break things, you're learning how to secure the digital world. That's it for this section. In the next one, we'll talk about the types of hackers: white hats, black hats, gray hats, and even the chaotic ones in between. It's going to get interesting, so stay tuned, and make sure you're subscribed to Secure7. Welcome back, Hacker in Training. In this section on Secure7, we're diving into the many shades of hackers. Spoiler alert, not all hackers wear hoodies in dark basements, but some do. Let's break down the different types of hackers you'll hear about in the cybersecurity world. Each one has a different mindset, mission, and moral compass. 1. White hat hackers, the good guys. That's you, or at least who you're becoming. White hat hackers work legally and ethically, often hired by companies to test their systems for vulnerabilities. They follow laws, work under contracts, and help make the digital world safer. Quick story. Companies like Google and Apple have official bug bounty programs, paying white hat hackers thousands of dollars to report bugs. Some ethical hackers make 6 figures just from bounties. 2. Black hat hackers, the bad guys. These are the cyber criminals you hear about in the news. They break into systems illegally, steal data, destroy networks, hold companies ransom with malware or ransomware, all for money, power, revenge, or chaos. They're dangerous and smart, and the reason ethical hackers are in such high demand. Gossip time. In 2017, the WannaCry ransomware attack infected over 200,000 computers across 150 countries, including hospitals. It was a black hat attack, and it changed cybersecurity forever. Gray hat hackers, the wild cards. Gray hats operate in a fuzzy zone. They don't always have permission, but they're not doing it for profit either. Maybe they hack into a system just to report a flaw or to prove a point. They're like digital vigilantes, sometimes helpful, sometimes causing trouble. Fun fact: a gray hat once hacked into a city's surveillance system just to expose how insecure it was. They didn't steal anything, but still broke the law. Helpful, but risky. Hari 4. Script kiddies, the copy-pasters. These are usually newbies who don't fully understand how hacking works. They download ready-made tools or scripts and launch attacks without much knowledge. They're not usually very dangerous, unless they accidentally trigger something big. Example: a script kiddie once took down a school's Wi-Fi because he didn't want to write a math exam. That's dedication and poor decision-making. 5. Hacktivists, the rebels. These are politically or socially motivated hackers. They deface websites, leak documents, or launch DDoS attacks to protest or make a statement. Groups like Anonymous are well-known hacktivist collectives. Sometimes they're seen as heroes, sometimes as threats. It depends on your perspective. Bonus: state-sponsored hackers. These are hackers employed by governments to attack other countries. Think cyber warfare, espionage, disrupting elections, stealing military secrets. Yeah, this is James Bond-level hacking. Big headline: the Stuxnet worm was allegedly developed by the US and Israel to sabotage Iran's nuclear program. It physically destroyed hardware through code. Powerful stuff. Why this matters for you. Understanding hacker types helps you know the enemy, think strategically, develop an ethical mindset, recognize how intent defines the label. It's not just about what you do. It's about why and how you do it. So, quick recap. Hat intent, legal, motivation, white good, yes, defense security, black malicious, no, money power, gray mixed. Usually not curiosity, justice, Kitty random, mostly not, fun chaos. Hacktivist political, no, activism. State political, often not, cyber warfare. Up next in section 1.4, we'll talk about the legal and ethical rules you absolutely need to know, because without them, even good intentions can lead to real consequences. Make sure you're subscribed to Secure7, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Welcome back to Secure7. Before you even type a single command into a terminal, you need to understand this. With great power comes great responsibility. Yes, we're getting serious now, because this stuff can literally make or break your career. Ethical hacking is only ethical if it's done legally and responsibly. Let's break it down. Why legal and ethical knowledge matters. You might be learning hacking techniques for good reasons, but intent alone isn't enough. If you touch a system, a server, a website, or even a Wi-Fi network without permission, you could be breaking the law. And we're not talking about a slap on the wrist. We're talking fines, job bans, even jail time. Yep, even scanning a network without consent can get you into trouble. Cyber gossip time. In 2012, a famous hacker named Andrew Weave Auernheimer discovered that AT&T had an exposed API leaking iPad user data. Instead of reporting it responsibly, he publicized it and ended up serving over a year in prison, even though he didn't technically hack anything in the traditional sense. The lesson? How you act on your knowledge is everything. Key legal concepts you must know. Let's go over the big legal rules that apply in most countries, though always check your local laws. 1. Unauthorized access is a crime. In the US, it falls under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, CFAA. Other countries have similar acts, like the UK's Computer Misuse Act. Basically, accessing a system without permission equals crime. Even attempting to access equals still a crime. 2. Written permission is mandatory. Even if your boss says, go ahead and test our website, you need it in writing. Always get a signed document that outlines what systems you're allowed to test, what methods you're allowed to use, when the test starts and ends. This is called a Rules of Engagement, ROE, or scope document. 3. Handle data responsibly. If during a test you find sensitive data, credit cards, passwords, personal info, you must report it immediately. Never store or share it. Delete any screenshots or logs responsibly. Respect privacy, always. Remember this simple rule: no permissions, no hacking. Period. The Ethical Hacker's Code. You're not just a techie, you're a digital security professional. And with that comes a code of conduct. Here's what separates pros from amateurs. Always act with integrity. Follow all legal guidelines. Respect the confidentiality of client data. Never cause harm to systems or people. Be transparent and document everything. Ethical hackers are trusted. If you break that trust, you lose everything: your reputation, your job, maybe even your freedom. Another quick one. An intern at a tech company once ran an internal penetration test without permission, trying to impress their manager. They accidentally took down the whole intranet and cost the company thousands in downtime. They were let go that same week. Intentions were good, but ethics failed. So to recap, don't touch systems without explicit written permission. Know the laws in your country. Get the rules of engagement before doing anything. Respect data privacy and boundaries. Be professional and trustworthy. This section isn't just to keep you safe, it's to make sure you're seen as a real, reliable, ethical hacker in the industry. Coming up next, in section 1.5, we'll explore the certifications and career paths that can help you land jobs, grow in this field, and get taken seriously by employers. Make sure to subscribe to Secure7, and remember, you're not just learning how to hack, you're learning how to protect the future. Welcome back to Secure7, where we're not just learning how to hack, but how to turn it into a career. In this section, we're diving into the top certifications in ethical hacking, what each one offers, career paths you can follow, and how to start even if you have zero experience. Let's go. Why certifications matter in cybersecurity. Your skills matter most, but certifications open doors. They show employers that you've passed exams, mastered essential tools, and understand how to work responsibly and professionally. Certs give you credibility, help you stand out, and can often lead to better salaries and real job offers. Let's break down the most popular ones. 1. CEH, Certified Ethical Hacker, provided by EC Council, best for beginners and intermediate learners. Topics: footprinting, scanning, enumeration, system hacking, web app attacks, malware, wireless, social engineering, and more. Exam, multiple choice, 125 questions. It's like the entry ticket into the professional ethical hacking world. Recognized globally and a great addition to your resume. Pro tip, it's theoretical, so pair it with hands-on labs like Try Hack Me or Hack the Box. 2. OSCP, Offensive Security Certified Professional, provided by Offensive Security, best for intermediate to advanced learners. Topics: exploitation, buffer overflows, privilege escalation, custom exploit development. Exam, 24-hour hands-on penetration test. The OSCP is no joke. It's hardcore. No multiple choice here, just a real-life hacking challenge. If you pass OSCP, recruiters notice. It's a career maker. Fun fact, some red teamers call it the black belt of ethical hacking. 3. CompTIA Security Plus, provided by CompTIA, best for total beginners. Topics: network security, threats, cryptography, identity management, risk management. Exam, multiple choice and performance-based. If you're just starting out, even before diving deep into hacking, Security Plus gives you a solid cybersecurity foundation. Bonus, it's DoD approved and a requirement for many government jobs. 4. EJPT, Junior Penetration Tester. Best for beginners who want hands-on skills. Focuses on realistic lab-based pen testing, networking, information gathering, exploitation. Many students say EJPT is the best first cert because it's cheap, practical, and teaches you real hacker thinking. It's fun, it's doable, it'll boost your confidence. 5. PNPT, Practical Network Penetration Tester, TCM Security, known as a modern, respected, affordable hands-on cert. Topics: external, internal pen testing, AD exploitation, report writing. Exam, real engagement with a real report at the end. Gossip alert. A lot of professionals are now choosing PNPT over CEH because it's cheaper, hands-on, and more realistic. Career paths in ethical hacking with the right certifications, real skills. Here are the roles you can go for. Role: what you do. Average salary. Penetration tester. Simulate cyber attacks. $90K to $140K. SOC analyst. Monitor and respond to threats. $60K, $100K. Red team member. Act like an attacker to test defenses. $100K plus. Security consultant. Audit and advise companies. Varies. Vulnerability analyst. Identify and report flaws. $70. Security trainer, content creator. Teach and create courses like Secure7. Flexible. How to plan your path. If you're a beginner, here's a suggested roadmap. 1. Learn the fundamentals. Networking, Linux, cybersecurity basics. 2. Get hands-on. Try Hack Me, Hack the Box, Portswigger Labs. 3. Choose a beginner-friendly cert, EJPT or Security Plus. 4. Move to intermediate, CEH or PNPT. 5. Advance, OSCP or specialize in web, cloud, mobile, etc. 6. Build a portfolio. Blog posts, GitHub write-ups, reports. Final thought, you don't need a college degree to become a successful ethical hacker. What you need is skill, practice, and proof of your work. Certifications help, but your real power comes from hands-on practice and passion. In the next section, we're building your hacking lab from scratch. No more theory. It's time to get your hands dirty. Make sure you're subscribed to Secure7, and let's take this journey step by step. Secure7, learn to hack the right way. Welcome back to Secure7, and get ready, because this is where things start to get real. If you're serious about becoming an ethical hacker, there's one golden rule. Never practice hacking on real systems without permission, ever. That's why every hacker, pro or beginner, sets up a lab environment, a safe, isolated playground where you can break, hack, and learn without any consequences. Let's build yours from scratch. What is a hacking lab? A hacking lab is like your personal dojo, a digital space where you can run attacks without breaking the law, test exploits, learn new tools, simulate real-world hacking scenarios. Best part? You can build it at home on a normal laptop for free. Tools you'll need. Here's your basic setup checklist. 1. A decent computer. You don't need a gaming rig, but at least this: 8GB RAM, 16GB is better, 50 to 100 gigabytes of free disk space, a decent processor, Intel i5 Ryzen 5 or better. Fun fact, some hackers start with old laptops or even Raspberry Pi setups just to keep it budget-friendly. Power 2. Virtualization software. This lets you run multiple virtual computers inside your main system. Pick one of these. VirtualBox, free and open source. VMware Workstation Player, free for non-commercial use. VirtualBox is more than enough for beginners. 3. Kali Linux, your attacker machine. Kali is the #1 Linux distro for penetration testing. Comes preloaded with tools like Nmap, Metasploit, Burp Suite, Hydra, Wireshark, John the Ripper, GoBuster, Nikto. Download from www.kali.org. Gossip time. Ever wonder what tool most hackers use first? It's usually Nmap. Network scanning is where most attacks begin. 4. Target machines, victim systems. Now you need something to hack. Don't worry, these systems are designed to be attacked. Recommended targets: Metasploitable 2, Classic Vulnerable Linux Box, DVWA, WA, Damn for Learning Web App Flaws. OSCP Juice Shop, a modern, realistic web hacking lab. Windows 10 11 VM, for practicing privilege escalation and Windows attacks. Optional but powerful. We'll walk through how to install these in upcoming videos. 5. Isolate the network. Super important. You do not want your hacking lab connected to the open internet. In VirtualBox, create an internal network. Assign all VMs to that network. Disable internet access inside Kali and victims. Why? So your Nmap scan doesn't accidentally ping your neighbor's router. Or worse, your tools don't try to attack your real network. One student once left his lab connected to Wi-Fi. A poorly written payload escaped and triggered his home antivirus across all devices. Learn from his mistake. Optional but useful. Snapshot your VMs before you start attacking. Use Remnux for malware analysis, advanced. Try HackMe or Hack the Box for cloud-based labs. Example setup overview: virtual machine, role, OS, Kali Linux, attacker Linux, Metasploitable 2, target Linux, DVW, web target, Linux plus PHP MySQL, Windows 10, target Windows. You now have a fully functional 100% legal hacking environment at home. You can scan, you can exploit, you can break things, then fix them again. Practice makes power. Coming up in the final section of Module 1, we'll recap everything you've learned and show you what to expect in Module 2. Make sure your Kali Linux is installed, your virtual machines are ready, and you're subscribed to Secure7 for the next step in your hacking journey. Congratulations! You've officially completed Module 1, Introduction to Ethical Hacking, right here on Secure7. Take a moment and appreciate how far you've come. Let's quickly recap what you've learned so far and what to expect moving forward. What you've learned in Module 1. Over the past few sections, you've built a solid foundation. Here's a summary. What is ethical hacking? You now understand that ethical hacking is about legally finding and fixing vulnerabilities before malicious hackers can exploit them. It's permission-based, it's professional, it's proactive. To beat a hacker, you must think like one, and now you're starting to do just that. Types of hackers, from white hats to black hats, gray hats, and even script kiddies. You've learned the major hacker categories and where you fit in. Remember, you're aiming to be a white hat, an ethical warrior of the digital world. Legal and ethical boundaries. Ethical hacking is only legal when done with explicit permission. Always follow the rules of engagement. Never attack without written consent. Respect privacy, confidentiality, and scope. One bad move can ruin a career, or worse, land you in jail. Stay clean, stay smart, stay secure. Certifications and career paths. You discovered the top certs to boost your career. CEH for fundamentals, OSCP for hardcore pen testing, Security Plus to start your cybersecurity journey, EJPT and PNPT for hands-on learners. And career paths ranging from penetration tester to SOC analyst, security consultant, red teamer, even a trainer or content creator like me here at Secure7. Building your own hacking lab. You've got the roadmap to build a safe, legal hacking environment using Kali Linux, Metasploitable 2, DVV Shop, VirtualBox or VMware. Internal isolated networks. You now have the tools to practice and grow without risking real-world damage. This is where the magic happens. Lab time is grind time. What's coming in Module 2? Now that you've got the mindset, it's time to learn the mechanics. In Module 2, Networking Fundamentals, we'll cover what is a network, how IP addresses and ports work, what is DNS, DHCP, NAT, etc. How hackers scan, sniff, and spoof, and how you can master the basics of traffic flow. Because here's a secret. You can't hack what you don't understand. Networking is the bedrock of hacking. If you skip it, you'll always hit a ceiling. But if you master it, you can break through firewalls, sniff packets, reroute traffic, and exploit weaknesses like a pro. Pro tips before Module 2. Make sure your virtual lab is set up. Test if your Kali VM can ping your target VM. Download Wireshark, it's coming soon. Review IP basics, watch a quick video if needed. Stay curious and take notes. Music fades slightly, tone turns motivational. You've just taken the first real step in your ethical hacking journey. Most people just dream about becoming a hacker. You actually started. Stick with me here at Secure7, and I'll guide you through everything you need, from beginner to expert. Like, subscribe, and share this course with someone who needs it. We're just getting started. Outro. Welcome back to Secure7, the place where you don't just learn what hackers do, you learn how they think. In Module 1, we uncovered the basics of ethical hacking, the mindset, the motivation, and the ethics behind the craft. But now, it's time to dive deeper, because you can't hack what you don't understand. So in this module, we're going into the heart of every hack, breach, or scan you'll ever do. Networking, from IP addresses to packets, ports, DNS, and firewalls. If you're not fluent in networking, you're not ready for the field. Ethical hackers don't guess. They observe the traffic, map the system, and exploit the assumptions. By the end of this session, you'll have a solid grip on the fundamentals of how devices talk and how attackers listen in. So stay sharp. This is where the real skills begin. Hey hackers, welcome back to Secure7, where we break down the art of hacking and cybersecurity in a way that actually makes sense. Before you learn how to scan, sniff, or exploit systems, you first need to understand how they talk to each other. And that's where networking comes in. So, what is networking? Networking is the process by which two or more computers or devices exchange data with each other. Simple, right? But let's look deeper. Imagine networking like a digital conversation. Devices are the people. IP addresses are their phone numbers. Protocols are the languages they use. Cables or Wi-Fi are the roads or airwaves that carry their messages. If any part of this chain breaks, boom, communication fails. And guess what? That's exactly where hackers step in. Networking in the real world. Think about the apps you use every day. WhatsApp, Instagram, Google, banking apps. Every single tap or swipe sends network requests behind the scenes. As an ethical hacker, you're going to intercept these requests, analyze the traffic, understand protocols, and discover weak links. And to do all that, you've got to speak the language of the internet, which is networking. Key concepts you'll learn in this module. Here's what we'll dive into next. What is an IP address and how it's assigned? Ports and why they matter. TCP versus UDP and why one is chatty. DNS, the phone book of the internet. Subnets, gateways, MAC addresses. The OSI model. Yes, we'll make it simple. Fun fact, every time you send a message or click a link, you're walking through 7 layers of digital communication. Hackers love the OSI model because it shows where to break in. So that's your intro to networking. In short, networking is how computers talk. Hacking is about listening in, speaking back, or interrupting those conversations. Get ready, because in the next section, we're diving into IP addresses, your target's digital identity. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to Secure7, and drop your questions in the comments. All right, hackers, welcome back to Secure7. Now that we've covered what networking is, it's time to learn about IP addresses, the digital identity of every device on a network. If you're going to scan networks, target machines, or spoof traffic, you must understand how IPs work and how they're grouped using subnets. Let's break it down. What is an IP address? An IP address, short for Internet Protocol Address, is a unique number assigned to each device on a network. Think of it like a home address, but for your computer. There are two types. Example, 192.168.1.1. Example, FE80 1D2A 480B 8765 21C7. As a hacker, you'll mostly deal with IPv4, especially in labs and internal networks. IP address breakdown, IPv4. IPv4 is made up of 4 numbers separated by dots, like this, 192.168.0.1. Each number, or octet, ranges from 0 to 255. That gives us about 4.3 billion possible addresses. An IP address is split into 2 parts. Network ID tells you which network the device belongs to. Host ID tells you which device on that network. What is a subnet? A subnet is a smaller portion of a larger network. It helps organize IP addresses and improve performance and security. You'll see subnet masks like 255.25.0/24. /24 means the first 24 bits are for the network. The remaining 8 are for the host. Subnets help hackers narrow their scan range. Instead of hitting all 4 billion IPs, you can target just 254. Example in a lab. Let's say your attacker machine is on 192.168.1.100/24. That means you're in the 192.168.1.0 network. You can scan 192.1.1 to 192.168.1.254. This is why understanding subnets equals scanning smarter. Hacker use case. Ethical hackers use IP and subnet knowledge to run Nmap scans effectively, avoid triggering firewalls, discover hidden systems in a range, conduct network enumeration. You can even spoof your IP to trick defenses, but more on that in advanced modules. Tools you'll use. Some key tools you'll use for IP and subnet work. IPadder, ifconfig, to check your IP. Nmap, to scan subnet ranges. Ping, netstat, traceroute, for basic recon. Subnetcalc, calculate IP ranges. IP addresses are the addresses of targets, and subnetting helps you find the neighborhood they live in. Understanding these concepts gives you laser-sharp scanning, better recon, and fewer wasted attacks. In the next section, we'll explore MAC addresses and ARP, where you get even closer to your target inside a network. So if you're serious about hacking, don't skip ahead. Like, comment, and subscribe to Secure7. We've got way more coming. Welcome back, future hackers, to Secure7. You've already learned how IP addresses work, the digital home address of every device. But there's a deeper layer, the hardware address that identifies every device on a local network. That's the MAC address. And the protocol that links IPs to MACs? That's the ARP protocol. And it's gold for hackers. What is a MAC address? A MAC address, Media Access Control Address, is a unique identifier assigned to every network interface card NIC, like your Wi-Fi adapter or Ethernet port. It's made up of 6 pairs of hexadecimal numbers, like 01A2B C4D5E. Fun fact, the first half identifies the manufacturer, e.g. Intel, Realtek. The second half is unique to your device. Unlike IPs, MAC addresses don't change. They're burned into your device. Think of them as your network fingerprint. What is ARP? ARP stands for Address Resolution Protocol. It's how devices on a LAN, local area network, figure out which MAC address belongs to which IP address. Here's what happens. 1. A device says, "Who has IP 1168.11? Tell me." 2. The device with that IP responds, "I do. My MAC is 001A2B3C4D5E." This exchange is how your device knows where to send packets at the hardware level. And guess what? That process is completely trust-based, and that's where ARP spoofing comes in. Hacker use case, ARP spoofing. In ethical hacking, we exploit the trust in ARP using tools like EtterCap, BetterCap, or ARP spoof. What happens when you spoof ARP? You pretend to be the router. You intercept all traffic between the victim and the internet. Boom, man-in-the-middle attack. This allows you to sniff login credentials, redirect traffic, inject payloads. of course, only in a lab environment or with explicit permission, never in a live network. Real-world analogy. Imagine you're at a party and someone asks, "Hey, who's Sarah?" You yell out, "That's me," even if you're not Sarah. Now you're getting all of Sarah's messages, food, and gossip. That's ARP spoofing in a nutshell. Tools you'll use. Here are some key tools you'll use when dealing with MAC and ARP. ARP-A, view your system's ARP table. IP-NA, same on Linux, ARP spoof to craft fake ARP responses. Wireshark, to monitor ARP requests responses. BetterCap, for advanced MITM attacks. Why MAC and ARP matter to hackers. As an ethical hacker, this knowledge is crucial for reconnaissance, discovering devices and vendors. Pivoting, jumping between systems on a LAN. Sniffing, intercepting unencrypted traffic. Spoofing, impersonating devices for attacks. This is how you get between two devices silently and observe everything they send and receive. To recap, MAC addresses equals hardware ID of devices. ARP equals protocol that maps IPs to MACs. ARP spoofing, the key to man-in-the-middle attacks. In the next section, we're talking about ports and protocols, the gates that control everything from websites to SSH. Stick with this Secure7 and get ready to learn how hackers knock on these digital doors. Like, comment, and subscribe if you're finding this series helpful. More labs, tools, and hands-on come your way. Welcome back to Secure7, Hackers in Training. In the last section, we covered how devices talk to each other on a local network using MAC addresses and ARP. But how do computers know which app or service to talk to, like a website's email versus file sharing? That's where ports and protocols come in. What is a port? Imagine your computer as an apartment building. The IP address is the building's address, and ports are the individual apartment numbers. Each port represents a specific service or application running on a device. For example, port 80, HTTP web traffic, port 443, HTTP secure web traffic, port 22, SSH remote terminal access, port 21, FTP file transfers, port 25, SMTP sending emails. There are 65,535 ports in total, but only the first 1,024 are known as well-known ports. TCP. UD ports work with two main transport protocols. TCP, Transmission Control Protocol, reliable, connection-based, like a phone call, used for HTTP, SSH, FTP, etc. UDP, User Datagram Protocol, faster but connectionless, like throwing a paper airplane, used for DNS, video streaming, VoIP. As an ethical hacker, you'll need to know which services use which protocols to tailor your attacks. Why ports matter to hackers? Every open port is a potential entry point for an attacker. It's like walking down a street and checking every door to see which one is unlocked. Hackers use tools like Nmap to scan for open ports, Netcat to connect to them, Masscan for lightning-fast scans. Once you find an open port, you can identify the service behind it, look for known vulnerabilities, try default credentials, attempt exploitation, Example, HTTP on port 80. Say you scan a target and find port 80 open. That's probably a website. You can visit it directly in a browser, use tools like Nikto or Derb to scan for hidden paths, check the HTTP headers for useful info. Now imagine you find port 22, SSH. You might try brute forcing with Hydra, attempt to enumerate usernames, check if it allows password login, bad practice. This is how ethical hackers map attack surfaces. Common ports you must know: port, protocol, use, 2021, FTP, file transfers, 22, SSH, secure shell, remote access, 23, telnet, remote login, 25, SMTP, sending email, DNS, resolving domain names, HTTP, web, and 10, POP3, email retrieval, 139.445, SMB, Windows file sharing, 404 HTTPS, secure web, 3306, MySQL, database access. Memorizing these will massively improve your recon skills. Lab tip. In your virtual lab, run this command to see open ports on your machine. Bash sudo netstat tulin, or scan your target VM using bash nmap-sv 192.168.1.105. You'll instantly see which services are running and on which ports. To recap, Ports equals entry points for services. TCP equals reliable. UDP equals fast. Open ports equals potential attack vectors. Scan equals first step in ethical hacking. In the next section, we'll dive into firewalls and network segmentation, the barriers you'll face, and how hackers map and sometimes bypass them. So stay tuned, stay sharp, and if you haven't yet, subscribe to Secure7 and drop a like if you're learning something new. Welcome back, cyber explorers, to Secure7. You've seen how devices talk over a network using IPs, MACs, and ports. But what's stopping an attacker from scanning everything and breaking in? That's where firewalls and network segmentation come into play. The first real barriers that stand between you and a vulnerable target. What is a firewall? A firewall is a system that controls incoming and outgoing network traffic. It works like a security guard that checks every packet and decides, should I allow this or block it? There are three main types of firewalls. 1. Packet filtering firewall. Checks basic info, IP, port, protocol. 2. Stateful firewall. Tracks entire connection sessions. 3. Next-gen firewall, NGFW. Deep packet inspection, intrusion prevention, malware detection. Many systems also use host-based firewalls, like Windows Defender Firewall, which protects the individual device. Why firewalls matter in hacking. From a hacker's POV, firewalls are obstacles. You must detect, understand, work around, ethically, of course. Here's what firewalls can do. Block specific ports, e.g. SSH on port 22. Drop suspicious traffic like a port scan. Restrict access to only trusted IP addresses. Detect abnormal behavior, like brute force attempts. Knowing how firewalls behave helps you avoid detection and tailor your scans accordingly. Real-world analogy. Imagine you're trying to enter a nightclub. The bouncer at the door checks your ID IP address, sees what you're wearing, protocol, asks what you're here for, port service. Might even remember if you caused trouble before, stateful inspection. If you don't meet the requirements, you're not getting in. Same with firewalls. They enforce the rules of who gets access and who doesn't. What is network segmentation? Now let's talk about network segmentation, another layer of defense. In large environments, not every device should be able to talk to every other device, so networks are broken into segments, or VLANs, virtual LANs. For example, Finance VLAN, HR VLAN, Guest Wi-Fi VLAN. Even if you compromise one machine in the Guest VLAN, segmentation prevents you from reaching the Finance VLAN unless it's misconfigured. That's where ethical hacking comes in, to test if those boundaries can be crossed. How hackers approach this. Here's how ethical hackers deal with firewalls and segmentation. Firewall evasion. Use decoy scans, Nmap-D. Slow down scan speed, scan delay. Spoof MAC IP addresses, bypassing segmentation. Search for misconfigured routers. Exploit devices with access to multiple segments. Use ARP spoofing to pivot between VLANs. Nmap for firewall detection. Wireshark for traffic analysis. IP tables, UFW, configure your own firewall in labs. Why this is critical for ethical hackers. When conducting penetration tests, this is where the report really matters. If you find a firewall is not configured properly or segmentation is missing, that's a high-risk finding. Because once an attacker gets inside a flat network, they can move laterally and compromise the entire infrastructure. As an ethical hacker, your job is to find those weak points before the bad guys do. Lab tip. Want to try this in your lab? Set up 2 VMs on separate VirtualBox networks. Use Kali to scan and connect to the other. It should fail if properly segmented. Try to ARP poison or spoof routes to gain access. This hands-on experience will help you understand what works and what doesn't. To recap, firewalls equals your first real gatekeepers. They inspect IPs, ports, states, and more. Network segmentation limits attacker movement. Hackers look for misconfigs to bypass defenses. In the next section, we go fully practical. DNS, DHCP, and the hidden power of network services. Trust me, DNS isn't just boring name resolution, it can be a hacker's dream. Make sure you've subscribed to Secure7, hit that like button, and prepare your lab. We're about to dive deeper. Welcome back to Secure7, Future Hacker Legends. We've talked about IPs, firewalls, and segmentation, but what about the network services that actually make everything run? Today, we dive into DNS, DHCP, and other core services that make networks work, and how attackers can manipulate them. What is DNS, Domain Name System? Let's start with DNS, the phone book of the internet. Every time you type google.com, DNS translates it into an IP address like 142.25.19.68. But DNS does a lot more. It helps systems locate other devices, servers, printers, etc. It can redirect traffic. It often runs insecurely by default. As an ethical hacker, DNS is a goldmine. Why? You can sniff DNS queries to see what users are accessing, use DNS poisoning or spoofing to redirect users, even hide data in DNS tunneling. Yes, you can exfiltrate data over DNS. DNS attacks are subtle and often go undetected. DNS in action, quick lab tip. Try this in your lab, bash dig google.com or bash nslookup facebook.com. You'll see how DNS resolves a domain to an IP. Now, imagine if you could control that response. What is DHCP, Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol? DHCP automatically assigns IP address, subnet mask, gateway, DNS server. Without DHCP, every device would need to be manually configured. Attackers love rogue DHCP attacks. Here's how. 1. Set up a malicious DHCP server. 2. Start assigning fake default gateways. 3. Route all traffic through your machine equals MITM, man in the middle cell. It's that easy. This is why DHCP snooping and network hardening matter. Other key network services you must know. As an ethical hacker, know these services. SMB, Server Message Block. File Sharing, target of Eternal Blue exploit. FTP, File Transfer Protocol. Often unencrypted, leaks data. SNMP, Simple Network Management Protocol. Admin access, bad if misconfigured. NetBIOS LLMNR, name resolution on local networks. Easily spoofed. Each of these can be scanned, enumerated, exploited, with tools like Nmap, Responder, Wireshark, DNS Enum, MSF Console, Hacker Mindset. What do you look for? When assessing DNS, DHCP, and network services, is DNS internally exposing sensitive host names? Is DHCP assigning suspicious gateways? Is SMB open with anonymous access? Are outdated protocols like FTP still running? Any yes is a red flag. Real-world example. DNS hijacking. In a real-world engagement, we once found a misconfigured DNS server on an internal network. We poisoned the cache to point intranet.company.local to our own server and captured credentials when users logged in. That's the power of DNS. One weak config is entire network compromise. Lab setup tip. Want to test this safely? Use Kali Linux plus Metasploitable 2 or Windows VM. Install DNS Mask or use Responder to simulate DNS DHCP poisoning. Capture traffic with Wireshark. See how easy it is to manipulate trust. Summary. Let's wrap up. DNS resolves names and can be poisoned. DHCP gives IPs and can be hijacked. Many network services are misconfigured and easily exploited. These are early footholds for attackers and must be tested. In the next module, we move from theory to practice. Wireshark, packet sniffing, and traffic analysis, where you see what's actually happening on the wire. Don't forget, like this video, subscribe to Secure7, and keep learning to hack the right way. Welcome back to Secure7, where hacking becomes a skill and not just a buzzword. So far, you've learned how networks are built and how services operate, but what if you could see every packet flowing through the wires? Today, we're diving into one of the most powerful tools in an ethical hacker's toolkit, Wireshark. If you've ever wanted to watch data live, steal credentials in lab, or analyze suspicious traffic, this is the module for you. Let's unpack the digital stream, one packet at a time. What is packet sniffing? Think of packet sniffing like eavesdropping on a conversation, except it's digital. You're capturing data sent across a network, protocols being used, requests and responses, even plain text passwords if encryption is missing. And the king of packet sniffing tools? Wireshark. What is Wireshark? Wireshark is a free, open-source network protocol analyzer. You can capture real-time packets, filter by IP, protocol, or keyword, reassemble files or sessions, analyze attacks or data leaks, spot malware communications. Wireshark turns invisible network traffic into readable intelligence. How Wireshark works. Wireshark puts your network interface into promiscuous mode, meaning it listens to all packets, not just the ones meant for your device. With the right position on the network, e.g. during a MITM attack or on a hub switch, you can capture data from other users, servers, printers, login forms. Just don't do it on real networks without permission. Live demo tips. Here's how you can explore Wireshark in your own lab. 1. Launch Wireshark in Kali Linux. Select your network interface, e.g. ETH0 or LAN0. 3. Hit the shark fin icon, start capture. 4. Open a browser and visit a few unencrypted websites, like http testphp.vulnweb.com. Now watch. HTTP GET and POST requests, source and destination IPs, cookie data, maybe even a password or two, if sent in plain text. Common protocols to look for. Protocol, why it's interesting. HTTP, credentials in plain text. FTP, passwords easily sniffed. DNS, website lookups. SMB, file sharing and enumeration. ARP, detect spoofing. TCP UDP, session level info. Use filters like Wireshark HTTP.request, TCP.port equals 21, IP 192.168.1.5, DNS.QRI.name contains admin. Defensive view. As a penetration tester, you're not just looking for juicy data, you're spotting misconfigurations like unencrypted logins, leaky DNS, ARP cache poisoning, suspicious beaconing to C2 servers. Wireshark helps you identify exploitable paths and recommend security hardening. Hat, bonus lab exercise. Goal, capture a login password via HTTP. 1. Start Wireshark. 2. On your victim test VM, visit a fake login site like DVWA. Submit login info. 4. Stop capture, filter with Wireshark http.request.method equals post. 6. Right-click, follow HTTP stream, boom. There's your post data and password. Real-world insight. In real-world red team ops, Wireshark is often used during initial recon on open Wi-Fi, internal assessments after gaining a foothold, post-exploitation sniffing. You'd be shocked how often companies forget to encrypt internal traffic. That's free loot for attackers. Hash a summary. Let's review. Wireshark is essential for packet capture and analysis. Packet sniffing reveals data in motion. You can detect attacks or even launch them smarter. Learn to filter, trace, and think like the data does. And always sniff only in legal lab environments. Up next, in the next module, we'll explore scanning and enumeration, where we go from watching networks to interacting with them. You'll learn tools like Nmap, Netcat, Enum for Linux, and more. Don't forget, like this video, subscribe to Secure7, comment if you want hands-on lab walkthroughs. Welcome back to Secure7, where we break down hacking, ethically, practically, and professionally. So far, you've watched the traffic flow using Wireshark. Now it's time to interact with the target. Not passively, actively. Today's module is all about scanning and enumeration, two of the most critical phases of any penetration test or ethical hack. We're going to uncover live systems, open ports, running services, and even usernames without ever logging in. Let's fire up some tools and start digging. What is scanning? Scanning is the process of probing a network or system to discover live hosts, open ports, operating systems, running services. Basically, you're trying to figure out what's alive, what's open, and what can I attack. Think of it like walking down a hallway and checking every door to see which ones are unlocked. Meet the tools. Here are the essential scanning tools every ethical hacker must know. 1. Nmap, the king of port scanners. 2. Netcat, NC, Swiss Army knife of networking. 3. Masscan, the fastest scanner out there. 4. HPing3, for custom TCP IP packets and firewalking. 5. Zmap, for internet-wide scans. Today we'll focus on Nmap because it's powerful, scriptable, and widely accepted in real-world jobs. Hash basic Nmap scan. Let's run a basic scan in your Kali terminal. Bash nmap 192.168.1.1. This checks if the host is up and identifies basic open ports. Want more detail? Use the mass-sv flag. Bash nmap-sv 192.168.1.1. This shows the services and versions running on each port, like SSH 7.4, Apache 2.429, MySQL 5.7, and if you want to run a full aggressive scan, bash nmap a 192.168.1.1 gives you OS detection, tracer out, script scanning, all in one go. What is enumeration? Enumeration is the next level. After you discover what's open, you try to extract information from those services. Examples: enumerate users from SMB or FTP, pull banners from web servers, dump NetBIOS or SNMP data, identify share names or domains. Enumeration is often where low-hanging fruit like weak credentials, misconfigs, and outdated versions are exposed. Enumeration tools. Here are some awesome tools you'll use. Target, Enum for Linux, SMB Windows shares and users. SNMP walk, devices with SNMP, Netcat, banner grabbing, Nmap NSE, service-specific enumeration, Nikto, web server weaknesses. Example, Enum for Linux bash Enum for Linux A192.168.1.5. Outputs, OS details, domain name, user accounts, share names, password policy. Just from open SMB ports. That's valuable data for planning further attacks or reporting risks in a pen test. Real-world insights in professional red teaming. Scanning and enumeration are low-risk, high-reward steps. You can map out entire networks without triggering alerts if done stealthily. Enumeration often leads to unauthenticated access, which makes it a high priority. Companies often forget to restrict internal services like SMB, SNMP, or Telnet, a goldmine for attackers. Ethical warning: do not scan networks without explicit permission. Even a harmless ping sweep can be flagged as reconnaissance, a major legal violation if unauthorized. Build your lab, practice there. Document everything in real-life jobs. Summary: scanning equals finding targets, ports, services. Enumeration, pulling data from services. Tools like Nmap, Enum for Linux, SNMP walk are critical. Always think about what each open port exposes. The goal is information gathering without detection. Up next module, vulnerability analysis and exploitation basics. We've mapped the system, now we look for cracks. Stay tuned for CVE hunting, Metasploit basics, manual exploitation mindset. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to Secure7. Tap the bell so you don't miss the next big hack. Secure7, learn to hack the right way. Hey everyone, welcome back to Secure7, your trusted place to learn ethical hacking the right way. So far, we've explored the foundations of hacking and dug deep into networking basics. But now, it's time to get our hands dirty in the operating system where most hacking actually happens. Linux. Why Linux? Linux is the playground of hackers. Whether you're using Kali Linux, running tools like Nmap and Metasploit, or setting up a C2 server, it all happens inside a Linux environment. If you want to be a real ethical hacker, knowing Linux is non-negotiable. Not just how to use it, but how to navigate, control, script, and secure it. What you'll learn in this module. In Module 3, Linux Basics for Ethical Hackers, we'll cover how to use the Linux terminal like a pro, file system structure and key directories, essential commands every hacker must know, managing processes, permissions, and services, bash scripting intro, yes, we'll touch scripting too, real-world examples from hacking labs. This isn't a boring Linux tutorial. This is Linux with a hacking mindset. You'll learn what you need to know as a penetration tester, not just a sysadmin. Goal of this module. By the end of this module, you'll be able to confidently navigate any Linux-based system, understand file structures, manipulate users and permissions, and lay the groundwork for automation and exploitation. Whether you're in a CTF, red teaming, or building your own tools, this knowledge gives you the edge. So let's jump right in. Coming up next is Section 3.1, Introduction to Linux and the Command Line. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss future modules. This is Secure7, and you're learning to hack the right way. Welcome to Section 3.1, Introduction to Linux and the Command Line. Before you can hack effectively, you need to be comfortable in Linux. And more importantly, the command line is where most of the real magic happens. If Windows is the world of GUIs and clicking, Linux is the underground tunnel where real hackers operate. So let's start with the basics. No fluff, no filler, just what you actually need to become a hacker.
What is Linux?
Linux is a free and open source operating system based on Unix. It powers 90% of cloud servers, most hacking tools and distributions, like Kali, Parrot OS, Android phones, IoT devices, and even parts of space systems. When you're learning ethical hacking, Linux is your home turf. Why ethical hackers use Linux? Here's why most hackers and pen testers prefer Linux. It's lightweight and customizable. It comes with built-in networking tools. You have total control over the system. You can automate anything via bash scripting. Almost all ethical hacking tools are made for Linux. Meet the terminal, aka shell. The terminal is a text-based interface that lets you interact with your OS directly. Think of it like a superpower. GUI is fine, but the shell gives you speed, precision, automation, complete system access. There are many shells like zsh, but we'll use bash, the most common one. In Kali Linux, you'll use the terminal for scanning, scripting, privilege escalation, and so much more. Basic command line terms. Here's a quick glossary to make you feel less lost. Term, meaning, nhang. Shell, interface to communicate with OS. Bash. A type of shell stands for born-again shell. Command, instruction you type in the shell. Prompt, the dollar symbol that waits for your input. Terminal, the window where you type your commands. You don't need to memorize everything right now. Just get comfortable. Your first few commands. Let's try a few essential Linux commands you'll use almost daily. Bash pwd, print current working directory ls, list files and directories, cd, change directory mkdir test, create a new directory, touch file to create a new file, rmfile.txt, delete a file. Try these out in your Kali VM. Don't be afraid to break things. This is your lab. Hacker mindset tip. Don't treat Linux like Windows. Think like this. What can I control? What can I automate? What can I explore with the shell? The command line is your playground, your toolkit, and sometimes your weapon. Summary of this section. Today you learned what Linux is and why it's crucial for ethical hackers, the power of the command line interface, basic commands to navigate Linux. In the next section, we'll go deeper into Linux file system structure, so you know where everything lives and how to control it. Call to action. Try out the commands in your terminal. Drop a comment if you faced any errors. Like and subscribe if you're learning something new every day. This is Secure7, and you're learning to hack the right way. Welcome back to Secure7, and you're now in Section 3.2, Understanding the Linux File System Structure. If you want to navigate Linux like a hacker, you must understand its layout. You can't hack what you can't find. Let's look at how Linux organizes its files and directories, and why this is so important for ethical hackers. Why file structure matters for hackers. When you exploit a system, you usually gain shell access. Your next move? Navigate the file system. Escalate privileges, extract data, cover tracks. So, /bin. Essential user binaries like lscatcp, /boot, bootloader files, kernel. /dev, device files, USBs, drives, etc. Configuration files, for hackers. Home, user folders, e.g. home Kali. Lib, shared libraries used by programs. Media, removable devices, e.g. USB mounts. /opt, optional software installations. /proc, virtual info about running processes. /root, home directory of the root user. /bin, system binaries, admin commands. /tm, temporary files may contain session data. USR secondary hierarchy, apps, docs, libraries, logs, mail, databases, etc. /varlog, goldmine. Hacker hotspots. When you pop a shell on a target system, these are key locations to check. /eats_pass_wd and /etc/shadow, user credentials logs that may expose activity. /home/username, desktop, sensitive user files. TMP, temporary scripts or files being used. /root, access only with privilege escalation. Commands you need. Let's go over some essential commands to explore this structure. Bash cd/ets hack, go to the config directory, ls else home, list user home folders with details, cat/etc/passwd, view user account information, find /name.conf, find config files, can be juicy, see disk usage per folder. Use these commands to discover, investigate, and understand any system you have access to. Pro tip. Avoid accidental destruction. Some directories are dangerous to modify unless you know what you're doing. Never run random delete commands as root. You might break your whole OS. Always practice in your Kali VM. never on real production systems unless authorized. Summary. In this section, you've learned the hierarchy of the Linux file system, what's inside common directories, which locations are most useful for hackers, how to navigate and investigate them using basic shell commands. In the next section, 3.3, we'll talk about file and directory permissions, because as a hacker, you need to know who owns what, who can access or modify what, and how to escalate if you're locked out. Try this exercise. In your Kali Linux VM, 1. Explore the /etc home-var directories. 2. Use ls/la, cat, and find commands. 3. Take note of anything that seems sensitive or interesting. Subscribe to Secure7, hit the bell icon, and drop out in the comments if you're ready to go deep into real hacker territory. This is Secure7, and you're learning to hack the right way. Welcome back to Secure7, and this is Module 3.3, Linux File and Directory Permissions. This is where things get real, because knowing who can do what on a system is the key to unlocking privilege escalation, persistence, and stealth. Let's dive in. Why permissions matter to hackers. Every file and folder in Linux has access control. It tells the system who can read, write, or execute it. If you don't understand these permissions, you'll either miss critical privilege escalation opportunities or break things and get caught. Let's break it down. The permission structure. Use this command to view permissions, bash ls-l. You'll see output like bash-xr1 user group 1234, jan 1st of 12 script.sh. Let's decode a wxrxr. First character, file type equals file, d equals directory. Next 3 owner permissions, next 3 group permissions, rx. Last 3 others, everyone else permissions. So in this case, owner can read, write, group can read and execute, others can only read. Hash permission types explained. Symbol, permission, applies to R, read, view content of files directories. W, write, modify files or create delete in directories. X, execute, run a file or enter a directory, changing permissions. Use these commands. chmod, change permissions. chown, change owner. charp, change group. Examples. Bash chmod plus xfile.sa add execute permission. cmod 755, script.shafe rwxrxrx, chown root file. Change ownership. Hacker perspective, what to look for. Here's what should raise your eyebrows when you're hacking a system. Files or scripts with 777 permissions. Misconfigured sudo rights. Writable files in system directories. Sensitive config files readable by non-root users. Cron jobs owned by root but editable by users. Backup files in /home or /tmp with loose perms. Example, if a script in /sys cron.d/ is writable by any user, you could modify it to run a reverse shell as root. suid sgid sticky bits. These are special permissions that get interesting. suid chmod 4755 runs as the owner, not user. sgid inherits group. Sticky bit restricts file deletion in shared dirs like /tmp. Check for them, bash find /perm-4002 dev null. If you find suid binaries owned by root, test them. They might let you escalate privileges. Try this now. In Kali or your lab. 1. Create a test file. 2. Run chmod, chown, lsl. 3. Try to execute as different users. 4. Search for SCI file. Summary. You've now learned how Linux permissions work, how to read and change them, which ones matter most for hackers, what suid sge and sticky bits do, how misconfigured permissions lead to privilege escalation. Coming up next, in Module 3.4, we'll explore basic shell commands every hacker must know, so you can take full control once inside a system. Subscribe to Secure7, comment if you've ever used SUID to escalate in a lab, and don't forget to try all these commands in your own hacking environment. You're on your way to becoming a professional ethical hacker the right way. Welcome back to Secure7. In Module 3.4, we're diving into the essential Linux commands every ethical hacker must know. These commands are your tool belt once you've gained access to a Linux machine, whether through SSH, reverse shell, or physical access. The faster you move and the more you know, the more power you have inside the system. Let's get hacking. Section 1, Getting Oriented Inside the System. pwd, print current working directory, bash pwd. ls-l, ls-a, list files and directories. Bash ls-l cd, change directory bash cd/etc, clears the terminal. WHOIS tells you the current user. Hostname, ID, unamha, system information. Tip: after getting a shell, always run WHOIS and ID. You need to know your privileges before moving. Section 2. File and directory management. Cat less more. View file contents. CPMV RM. Copy, move, remove files. mkdir rmdir. Make, remove directories. Touch. Create new empty files. Bash cats passwd cpfile.txt/temp rm-rf/temp/test. Find, locate, find files. Bash find /name config php to dev null. Section 3. Useful for recon and exploitation. PSOX. See all running processes. Top or HTOP. Real-time system monitor. Netstat tolmp SS. See network ports and processes. ifconfig or IPA. See IP addresses. ARP, ping, tracer route, network tools. crontab-l. List scheduled tasks. Red team tip. Cron jobs, open ports, and exposed services are gold mines for attackers. Section 4. Permission and ownership commands. chmod, chown, ls-l, we already covered in 3.3. Sudo, su, elevate privileges if allowed. Groups. See group memberships bash sudo ll. This command tells you what you can run as root, a critical privilege escalation check. Section 5. Log files and cleanup. History shows command history, bash a history, clear history, /varlog syslog, /varlogs auth.log, wipe logs, only in CTFs. Note, in the real world, log tampering is illegal. In labs or CTFs, it's fun. In real life, it's a crime. Pro tips for efficiency. Use tab for autocomplete. Use danan to chain commands, up-down arrows for command history, alias commands to shorten repetitive tasks, man for manual pages. Bash man ls. Recap. You must master these. Navigation. cd ls pwd. File ops. cat cp rm find. Recon. ps netstat ifconfig sudo-l. Privilege. chmod chown groups. Logs and cleanup. Histories varlog/. If you can't move quickly in a Linux shell, you'll struggle during exploitation or post-exploitation. So practice these commands daily. In Module 3.5, we'll cover user and group management in Linux, because users are always the weakest link in any system. Comment below. What's your favorite Linux command as a hacker? And if you're learning something valuable, smash that subscribe button and share Secure7 with your friends. Welcome back to Secure7, where future ethical hackers are forged. In this lesson, Module 3.5, we'll explore how users and groups are managed in Linux. A vital skill during privilege escalation and post-exploitation. Whether you're doing a red team engagement or just managing a secure Linux server, understanding how users and groups work is non-negotiable. Section 1. Understanding users and groups. In Linux, everything is user-based. Even services run as specific users. So here's what you need to know. Each user has a username, a unique UID, a home directory, a default shell. Groups are collections of users that share permissions. Pro tip: attackers often pivot through user accounts to elevate privileges. Section 2. Key files to know. /etc/passwd stores user account info, non-sensitive. /shladow stores hashed passwords, only accessible to root. /group lists all groups and their members. Bash cat etc passd cat /etc tag group. Use these to enumerate users and privileges on compromised systems. Section 3. Managing users. Add a user, bash sudo add user John Doe. Delete a user, bash sudo deloser John Doe. Change user info, bash sudo usermod-ag sudo John Doe. Lock unlock users. Bash sudo passwd-l John Doe lock sudo passwd John Doe unlock. Locking accounts is useful for preventing unauthorized access without deleting the user. Section 4. Managing groups. Add a group, bash sudo group add hackers. Add user to group, bash sudo usermod-ag hackers John Doe. See group memberships, bash groups change group ownership of a file, bash chgrp hackers file.txt. Hacker tip. Always check for users in privileged groups like sudo, admin, docker, etc. Section 5. Enumeration tactics for hackers. When you're inside a Linux machine, check for users with UID 0, root level access, look for misconfigured sudo rights, bash sudo l, check cron jobs run by other users, potential privilege escalation, explore SUID binaries owned by non-root users. CTF secret, enumerating user and group configs often reveals weak spots for lateral movement. Recap what you've learned. Users equals identity, groups permission bundles. Key files //passwd/se/shadow et/group. Adding, removing, locking, and modifying users. Group management and ownership. How hackers exploit user configurations. Mastering user and group management helps you understand system structure, detect weaknesses, and avoid security misconfigurations. What's next? In Module 3.6, we'll wrap up with essential shell scripting basics, because automation is a hacker's best friend. If you're enjoying the series, comment below. I control the users, I control the system. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to Secure7 and hit that bell icon so you don't miss Module 3.6. Welcome back to Secure7, your training ground for mastering ethical hacking. In Module 3.6, we're diving into something powerful, shell scripting. Why learn scripting as a hacker? Because automation is the secret weapon of every successful cybersecurity pro. Why shell scripting matters in hacking? Shell scripts allow you to automate reconnaissance, enumeration, and exploitation, customize payloads, scan networks, or even brute force login portals. Save time and avoid repeating manual commands. Shell scripting more hacks in less time. Ethically, of course. Section 1. What is a shell script? A shell script is a plain text file that contains a series of commands to be executed by the shell. Default shell in Linux, bash/bin bash, file extension .sh. Example, bash*/bin bash echo welcome to Secure7. The first line is the shebang, telling the system what interpreter to use. Section 2, your first script. Let's write a script that checks if a website is online. Bash*bin/echo checking website status. Read-p enter URL. URL ping -c2 URL f/0. Then echo URL is reachable, else echo URL is down. Fi. To run it, bash chmod +x checksite.h/checksite.h holds the exit status of the last command. 0 means success. Section 3, loops and conditionals. For loop, useful in scanning, bash for IP num5 do ping -c1192.1.8.1 IP done if else statement. Bash if 9ff/et passwd, then echo user file exists, else echo file missing. Fi. While loop bash count equals 1, while count-5 do echo attempt $count, count ++ done. Section 4, real-world ethical hacking uses. Recon automation. Create scripts to run Nmap scans on a target list. Vulnerability testing. Automate Nikto, GoBuster, etc. Brute force attempts. Custom password loops for CTFs only. Cleanup tools. Remove payloads or evidence post-testing. Example, auto nmap scan, bash/bin bash for IP, do nmap nicus s t4 IP, scan results.txt done. Section 5, best practices for hackers using scripts. Test scripts in a SLAB environment only. Always sanitize user input to avoid injection vulnerabilities. Reuse functions and modularize your code. Document your scripts. You'll thank yourself later. Summary. Shell scripting lets you automate hacking tasks. Learn how to write and run basic scripts. Use loops and conditions to make your scripts dynamic. Apply scripting to recon, scanning, brute force, and more. Practice with real-world tools in your Kali Linux lab. What's next? Module 3 is now complete. You've mastered the Linux fundamentals every hacker should know. In Module 4, we step into the scanning and enumeration phase, the first act of real ethical hacking. Action time. Drop a comment, scripts superpowers. And if you're finding value in this course, hit that subscribe and turn on the bell icon. This is Secure7, and you're on your way to hacking the right way. Welcome to Module 4, Footprinting and Reconnaissance. Part of the Secure7 Ethical Hacking Masterclass. In this module, we dive into the first real step in ethical hacking, gathering intel before the attack. It's called Footprinting and Reconnaissance. This is where skilled hackers and security professionals silently map out the target. Identifying vulnerabilities without ever touching or alerting the system. This module is divided into 7 practical and powerful lessons. 4.1. What is footprinting? Understand what footprinting really means and why it's critical to every hacking phase. 4.2. Types of footprinting, active versus passive. Explore how attackers use passive methods to stay undetected and active methods when more detail is needed. 4.3. DNS and network information gathering. Dig into DNS records, subdomains, and IP mappings to uncover the network blueprint. 4.4. Google hacking and OSINT, open source intelligence. Use tools like Google Dorks and OSINT frameworks to mine public data like a pro. 4.5. WHOIS, email and social media intelligence gathering. Discover how much info you can extract from domains, emails, and employee profiles. 4.6. Metadata extraction and file reconnaissance. Learn how hidden data inside files, like images and PDFs, can be used for digital profiling. 4.7. Social engineering. Explore the human side of hacking, where psychology and manipulation meet information gathering. By the end of this module, you'll be able to perform passive and active reconnaissance, use open source tools for silent scanning, build target profiles for ethical hacking engagements, lay the foundation for scanning, enumeration, and exploitation. Let's begin with 4.1. What is footprinting? If you're enjoying this journey, like, comment, and subscribe to Secure7, and let's keep hacking the right way. Before any hacker breaks into a system, legally or maliciously, the first step is the same. Gather information. Quietly, strategically, thoroughly. That's called footprinting. Footprinting is the blueprint building phase of ethical hacking. It's where you gather as much data as possible about your target, without directly interacting with their system. Imagine you're a thief, a legal one in our case, trying to break into a building. Footprinting is like walking around the outside, noting down where the doors and cameras are, when the guards change shifts, and what kind of locks are used, all before ever touching a lockpick. Definition of footprinting. Footprinting is the process of collecting as much information as possible about a target system, organization, or individual to find ways to intrude or assess vulnerabilities. This information can include domain names and IP addresses, employee names and emails, server locations and technologies used, social media accounts, open ports and services, file metadata, and more. Why footprinting matters in ethical hacking. It helps define the attack surface, reduces guesswork in later phases like scanning and exploitation, reveals vulnerabilities before attackers find them. It's often legal and invisible when done passively. Most importantly, 80% of a real attack is planning and recon. The better your footprinting, the better your overall penetration test or defense plan will be. Ethical use of footprinting. As an ethical hacker, you must have permission before engaging in deep reconnaissance. Passive information gathering using public tools is usually fine, but anything beyond that requires authorization. Common footprinting tools and methods. Google Dorks, WHOIS Lookup, Shodan, Maltego, NS Lookup, and Dig. LinkedIn, Facebook Recon, metadata extraction from docs images. We'll go deep into these in the coming lessons. Key takeaways. Footprinting equals silent intel gathering on a target. It's a mix of passive, undetectable, and active, riskier techniques. It lays the foundation for every ethical hacking operation. Think like a spy, act like a professional hacker. Next up, Module 4.2, Types of Footprinting, Active versus Passive. Make sure to like and subscribe to Secure7 if you're learning something new. Now that you understand what footprinting is, let's go one step deeper. There are 2 major styles of footprinting, and knowing when and how to use each is key for ethical hacking. Passive footprinting. Active footprinting. Let's break them down. Passive footprinting, the silent approach. Passive footprinting is about gathering intel without ever interacting with the target directly. You become a digital detective, collecting breadcrumbs that are already publicly available. Examples of passive sources: search engines, Google, Bing; social media profiles, LinkedIn, Facebook, WHOIS data; news articles, PDFs, and press releases; job postings revealing tech stacks, e.g. looking for AWS engineer, DNS records using public tools like dig or NSLOOKUP if done off target. Why it's used. Completely stealthy. The target won't know you're investigating. No legal boundaries crossed if using only public data. Great for social engineering preparation or basic OSINT. Open source intelligence. Passive doesn't mean useless. A skilled attacker can build a full map just from public info. Active footprinting. The direct probe. Active footprinting involves interacting directly with the target's infrastructure. Here you send requests, pings, or scans to a system to extract data. Examples of active techniques: port scanning, Nmap, masscan, banner grabbing, detecting server types, traceroute commands, DNS zone transfers, if misconfigured, email verification tools, direct ping sweeps. Why it's useful. Gives more accurate and detailed info. Reveals live hosts, open ports, operating systems, and more. Required before exploitation phases. But there's a catch. It can trigger alerts in intrusion detection systems, IDS. Without permission, it could be illegal or unethical. Quick comparison table. Feature, passive, active, if public data only. Visibility, stealthy, undetectable. Detectable, triggers alerts. Interaction with target, no, yes. Data accuracy, moderate, high. Legal risk, low, if public data only. High, if done without consent. Tools used: Google, WHOIS, Maltego, Nmap, traceroute, ping. Pro tip: most skilled ethical hackers start passive, gather what they can, then switch to active once they have legal authorization and clear scope. Ethical reminder: never use active footprinting on a system you don't have permission to test. It's equivalent to knocking on someone's door at 2 a.m., not a good look. In summary, passive equals silent, legal, safe. Active equals louder, deeper, riskier, but powerful. Use both strategically during penetration testing. Always follow your scope, contracts, and legal boundaries. Next up, Module 4.3, DNS and Network Information Gathering. We'll learn how to extract valuable details from the DNS and network layer. Like, comment, and subscribe to Secure7 if you're ready to become a recon ninja. Welcome to one of the most underrated but powerful phases of Reconnaissance, DNS and Network Information Gathering. If you control the DNS, you control the internet. That might sound dramatic, but DNS is a goldmine for ethical hackers. In this lesson, we'll explore how hackers and cybersecurity professionals can extract sensitive infrastructure information without ever breaching a system. What is DNS? DNS equals Domain Name System. It's the internet's phone book, converting domain names like Secure7.in into IP addresses like 203.133.10. But there's a catch. DNS servers often leak information, intentionally or unintentionally. That's where ethical hackers come in. Why DNS matters in Recon. Reveals internal network structure. Identifies subdomains, e.g. admin.secure7.in. Can expose internal IP addresses. Helps locate email servers, test servers, APIs. May allow zone transfers. A huge vulnerability. Tools and techniques for DNS Recon. 1. WHOIS lookup. Reveals domain registrar, owner, contact info, DNS servers, tools WHOIS, ICANN-lookup, OXE.com. 2. NSLOOKUP dig, queries DNS records, A, MX, TXT, NS, etc. Tool, NSLOOKUPdomain.com, digdomain.com, any. 3. Subdomain enumeration helps find hidden apps or staging environments. Tools, sublist 3er, CRT sheesh, amass, asset finder. 4. Reverse DNS lookup, converts IPs back to domains useful for identifying targets in a given IP range. 5. Zone transfer attack. If misconfigured, a DNS server may reveal its full zone file, all subdomains plus records. Tool dig AXFR at ns1.target.com, target.com. Only test this on authorized domains. Network info gathering techniques. 1. Ping sweeps and traceroute. Map the path to a target, identify firewalls, gateways, and response times. 2. IP range discovery. Find all systems hosted on a domain or company. Tool, Shodan, Netcraft, Census. 3. Port scanning preview, light. Find open ports passively using tools like Shodan. Save full scans for later modules. 4. Banner grabbing teaser. Identify server software and version via headers. Tool curl ifi target.com, whatweb, nmap.sv. Ethical hacking use cases. Find forgotten or exposed subdomains. Identify insecure DNS servers. Prepare for phishing simulation. MX Records help. Discover tech stack via CNAME or A Records. Avoid triggering alerts with passive DNS. Pro tips. Use tools like Reconning, the Harvester, and Amass for large-scale DNS recon. Combine DNS plus Google Dorks for hidden dev test environments. Document every discovered subdomain or IP. They'll be used later in scanning and exploitation. Important reminder. Only test domains IPs you're authorized to test. DNS recon is legal. But DNS zone transfers or scanning live targets can get you into trouble without proper scope. What you've learned in this lesson. What DNS is and why it matters in recon. Passive and active tools for DNS and network info gathering. How subdomain and zone transfer recon reveals infrastructure. Tips to stay ethical and efficient. Coming next, Module 4.4. Google Hacking and OSINT. We'll uncover how Google and public data can expose vulnerabilities companies didn't even know existed. Welcome back to Secure7. In this part of our journey, we explore how search engines and public data can be weaponized for hacking, legally and ethically. The best hackers don't break in, they log in, using public information. This is where Google Hacking and OSINT, open source intelligence, come into play. What is Google Hacking? Google Hacking refers to using advanced search techniques known as Google Dorks to uncover sensitive information indexed by search engines. This includes exposed admin portals, login pages, error messages, configuration files, and webcams forgotten databases, documents with metadata, passwords, usernames. Examples of Google Dorks, dork, what it entitle, index of site example.com, directory listings, file type SQL in-text password, SQL dumps containing passwords, INRL, login site example.com, login pages, xlog, log files, site example.com, INRL, admin portals, in-text, DB password, exposed credentials and code. Google Dorks are passive. They don't send any requests to the target system directly. This makes them useful for stealth reconnaissance. What is OSINT, open source intelligence? OSINT is the art of collecting publicly available information from websites, social media profiles, government databases, images and metadata, forums, GitHub, Pastebin, YouTube, LinkedIn, Reddit. Hackers use OSINT to profile organizations, build employee target lists, find leaked credentials, map out infrastructure, discover abandoned domains or projects. OSINT tools, tool purpose, the Harvester, email and domain harvesting, Maltego, visual link analysis of people orgs, Spiderfoot, automated OSINT framework, Shodan, search devices connected to the internet, Google Dorks, search for index secrets, Hunt, Google account intelligence, social mapper, facial recognition from public profiles. OSINT in real life, gather email patterns for phishing, discover open AWS S3 buckets, identify targets tech stack, uncover data breaches related to a domain, learn about employees via LinkedIn, use metadata in documents, author name, GPS, timestamp. Metadata example file recon. Download a public PDF from a target website. Use bash exif tool filename.pdf. It may show author name, username, OS version, timestamp, software used. This can help identify internal usernames or technology used. Ethical usage. Google Hacking and OSINT are powerful tools. However, just because data is public doesn't mean you can use it maliciously. Always follow the rules. Don't use leaked credentials, don't exploit discovered pages unless in scope, never impersonate or social engineer without permission, always document your sources. What you learned in this module. How Google Dorks can uncover sensitive data. What OSINT is and how it applies to ethical hacking. Tools and techniques to gather information legally. Tips to use OSINT effectively during recon. Boundaries and ethical lines in passive recon. Next up, 4.5, WHOIS, email and social media intelligence gathering. We'll dig deeper into target identities, domains, and personal data gathering from legitimate sources. Welcome back to Secure7, where we uncover the techniques real hackers use, the legal way. In this lesson, we're diving into WHOIS, email intelligence, and social media profiling. The backbone of human and domain reconnaissance. These are passive but powerful methods for mapping out targets and identifying key personnel and vulnerabilities. #1, WHOIS lookup. What is it? WHOIS is a public database that stores registration information about domain names. What WHOIS reveals: domain owner's name if not private, organization name, email address and phone number sometimes, registrar, e.g. GoDaddy, Namecheap, registration and expiration dates, name servers and DNS info, hosting provider IP ranges. Tools to use: WHOIS command, linuxslatools.com, domaintools.com, aps/docs.com. Amass, subdomain plus WHOIS tool. Hackers use WHOIS to pivot to other domains owned by the same company or person. 2. Email intelligence gathering. Emails are more than just communication. They can leak usernames, give away patterns, and lead to social engineering targets. How to gather emails. The Harvester, tool to extract emails from public sources. Hunter.io, find email formats for any company. Google Dorks, like intext at example.com, cite linkedin.com at example.com. What you learn: format of internal emails, e.g. firstname.lastname at domain.com. Common aliases: admin at support at, people involved in HR, finance, IT. Useful for phishing. Cross-reference emails with data breaches using havebeen.com/havebeenping.com. Social media profiling. Social engineering begins with knowing your human targets. Social media is a goldmine for this. What to look for: company hierarchy on LinkedIn, employee names, job titles and technologies used, personal interests, events attended, Instagram, Twitter, past complaints, Reddit, Twitter, photos showing devices or badges. Tools: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit. Maltego builds social graphs. Sherlock finds usernames across platforms. Ghunt, extract info from Gmail addresses. Twint, Twitter scraping tool. A single social media post can reveal devices, office IPs, or insider info. Example scenario: you're performing a recon on examplecorp.com. WHOIS reveals it's hosted with AWS. Hunter.io gives you 10 employee emails. LinkedIn shows the CISO recently left, potential weakness. Instagram shows office photos with badge QR codes. GitHub has an engineer's repo with .env file, credentials. All of that came without a single exploit, just passive recon. Ethical considerations: use OSINT for authorized engagements only. Never contact or harass targets. Document all your sources. Don't collect personal data beyond what's in scope. Even public data must be handled with care. Key takeaways: WHOIS gives you domain ownership and infrastructure insight. Email intel reveals naming conventions and potential users. Social media reveals people, technologies, and human weak points. Passive data equals powerful leverage in red teaming or penetration testing. Coming next, Module 4.6, Metadata Extraction and File Reconnaissance. You'll learn how a single photo or document can spill everything from usernames. Welcome back, hackers. In today's lesson, we're diving into the hidden world of metadata, the invisible information hiding inside everyday files. You'd be surprised how much information images, PDFs, and Office documents reveal when you know where to look. What is metadata? Metadata is data about data. Invisible information automatically embedded into files when they are created or modified. Common metadata types: author name or username, device used, make model, file path on computer, software and OS version, timestamps, creation, modification, GPS coordinates in images. Metadata is not meant to be seen, but it can expose sensitive info unintentionally. 1. Metadata in documents. Office files like .docx, .ppdx, PDF, etc. often contain author names, software version, and more. Tools to extract metadata. EXIF tool, universal metadata reader. PDF info for PDF metadata. Microsoft Word, file, info, properties. Strings, quick command line peek. Binwalk for embedded files. Real-world use. Identifying usernames, e.g. John Doe at company. Learning internal file paths, e.g. users IT dept reply ports. Tracking document edits. Over. 2. Metadata in images. Digital photos often include EXIF data, exchangeable image file format. EXIF data might contain camera make model, timestamp, GPS coordinates, major privacy risk, orientation, ISO, exposure, etc. Tools. EXIF tool, exif.regex.info, exif.regex.info. MAT2 for metadata anonymization. photoforensics.com for deep image analysis. Example, someone uploads an image of their workstation to LinkedIn. EXIF data reveals, taken on iPhone 13, exact GPS coordinates, office location, time, 9:32 a.m. on a Monday, possible routine, schedule. B3, file reconnaissance. Recon isn't just about metadata. Files themselves can expose internal project names, developer comments or debug logs, credentials and .env or config files, file naming conventions, recycle bin and temp file leaks. Tools for hunting: GitHub, GitLab, Pastebin, Google Dorks, site drive.google.com, file type PDF confidential, site github.com, password, Shodan, searching exposed files on servers. Use case example. You're auditing a leaked resume from a company. EXIF tool shows author, anandsxycorp.com. GPS coordinates reveal the building address, internal file path, CHA-A25 hiringplan.dax. PDF properties show it was exported via Adobe Pro, recent version. You now have names, locations, file paths, and software used, all without touching the network. Ethical use only. Don't extract or download unauthorized files. Perform metadata analysis only in scope. Always anonymize documents before sharing in reports. Use findings to strengthen an organization's digital hygiene. Key takeaways. Metadata hides valuable information in plain sight. Tools like EXIF tools, strings, and PDF info are your allies. Images can leak GPS, timestamps, and device info. File reconnaissance reveals internal structures without active scanning. Be ethical and responsible with what you uncover. Next up, Module 4.7, Social Engineering Recon, will explore how hackers exploit human behavior, phone calls, and email tricks, and how to defend against them. Welcome back to Secure7. We've explored tools, data, and techniques so far, but now it's time to explore the human factor, one of the weakest links in cybersecurity. In Social Engineering Recon, we focus on gathering intelligence about people, their habits, roles, relationships, and digital footprints, to exploit them without ever touching a firewall. What is social engineering? Social engineering is the art of manipulating people to give up confidential information or perform actions that compromise security. In Reconnaissance, we use social engineering to gather pre-attack intelligence like who works where, their job roles, their habits, hobbies, behavior, communication styles, platforms they use. This helps us craft more realistic phishing attacks, pretexts, or impersonation strategies. 1. Employee enumeration. Identify key personnel within the target organization. Focus on executives and leadership, HR and finance, handles payroll invoices, IT staff, access to infrastructure, new hires or interns less aware of threats. Tools and platforms. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitters, company websites, About Us team, people search engines, e.g. people, hunter.io. 2. Profiling individuals. Once people are identified, gather personal data to build psychological profiles. What to look for: interests, hobbies, pets, travel, photos that show workspace, screens, badge IDs, language, tone of writing, helps in phishing. Work schedules or routines. Example, a user posts every morning from a coffee shop, perfect timing for a pretext call. 3. Email and communication patterns. Use OSINT tools to collect corporate email addresses. Tools, hunter.io, find email patterns. Email permutator, guess email combinations. Verifyemail.org, check deliverability. Mailtester.com. Why it matters. Email structure helps you send spoofed emails that look legit. X, first.last at secure7.com versus lastname at secure7.com. 4. Image analysis and background details. Look at images posted online, whiteboards and backgrounds, access badges, Wi-Fi names or QR codes, file names, screenshots. Desk layout could lead to physical attack vectors. Even a birthday cake with a name on it is a clue. 5. Pretexting and roleplay scenarios. Use the recon to build a fake persona, pretext. Hi, this is Raj from the IT team. We're resetting credentials. This is your vendor from HR system support. We need to confirm bank details. Hey, I saw your event on LinkedIn. Mind sending over the deck? Craft these stories based on facts gathered during recon to make them convincing. 6. BEC and vishing preparation. BEC, business email compromise. Vishing, voice phishing. Your recon helps you understand who is authorized to approve payments, who manages IT credentials. internal lingo or acronyms to sound real, phone numbers, office addresses, extensions. These are often used in CEO fraud or invoice scams. Real-world example. An attacker found the CFO's LinkedIn, saw a vacation post, CFO out of office, learned from Facebook that the accountant is handling tasks, sent a fake email from the CFO asking for an urgent payment. It worked. Payment sent. Recon equals success. No malware. No brute force, just information. Ethical guidelines. Never perform social engineering outside of authorized engagements. Only simulate scenarios in legal and scope tests. Always document findings responsibly. Respect privacy and consent. Social engineering can be powerful. Use it ethically and professionally. Key takeaways. Social engineering recon focuses on humans, not machines. Tools. LinkedIn, social media, hunter.io, people search engines. Look for patterns, relationships, routines, habits. Use recon to craft realistic pretexts or phishing lures. Always operate under legal and ethical guidelines. And that brings us to the end of Module 4, Footprinting and Reconnaissance. We've just explored one of the most crucial phases in ethical hacking, where information is power, and where most attacks begin before a single line of code is executed. From passive data mining to active recon, from WHOIS to Google Dorks, and from metadata to social engineering tactics, you now understand how attackers gather intelligence and how defenders can think one step ahead. Let's quickly recap what you learned in this module. What is footprinting and why it's the first step in any attack? The difference between active and passive reconnaissance. DNS, WHOIS, email, and network intelligence gathering techniques. The power of OSINT tools and Google hacking. Social engineering reconnaissance, the human factor. What's next? In Module 5, we'll be diving deep into scanning and enumeration, the next step where we begin mapping out networks, identifying live hosts, open ports, services, and gathering banners for attack vectors. This is where reconnaissance turns technical. If you found value in this module, drop a like, leave a comment. What was the most surprising technique for you? Subscribe to Secure7 if you haven't already. Share this course with friends or colleagues getting into cybersecurity. Module 5, Introduction, Scanning and Enumeration. Secure7 Ethical Hacking Masterclass. Welcome back, cyber warriors, to the Secure7 Ethical Hacking Masterclass. You've made it through footprinting and reconnaissance, where we gathered information from the outside. Now, it's time to step into Module 5, Scanning and Enumeration, the phase where the hacker becomes more active, deliberate, and technical. What's this module all about? In this module, we dive into the art of identifying live hosts, open ports, running services, and vulnerabilities. You'll go from observing to interacting, learning how attackers map out a system's digital terrain to prepare for exploitation. You'll learn the difference between scanning and enumeration, types of scanning, TCP, SYN, UDP, and stealth scans, port scanning using Nmap, service and version detection, OS fingerprinting, banner grabbing, and techniques to enumerate user accounts, shares, and more. Why is this important? Because you can't attack what you can't see. Scanning and enumeration bridge the gap between reconnaissance and exploitation. If done right, you'll know exactly where the doors and windows are and how to knock. What you'll need: Kali Linux or Parrot OS, Nmap, Netcat, and other scanning tools. A safe virtual lab environment like Metasploitable, DVWA, or TryHackMe. Get ready to get your hands dirty. Module 5 is where we shift from passive information gathering to active probing and discovery, laying the technical groundwork for exploitation in later modules. Let's begin scanning like a pro, ethically and legally. Subscribe to Secure7 if you haven't already, and let's dive in. Module 5.1, Introduction to Scanning. Secure7 Ethical Hacking Course. Welcome back, everyone. In the previous modules, we learned how hackers gather intel passively, like digital detectives digging through open sources. Now, we're moving into more hands-on territory, where you actively interact with the target environment. This is where the real technical fun begins. Welcome to 5.1, Introduction to Scanning. So, what is scanning? In ethical hacking, scanning refers to sending packets or probes to a target system to discover if it's alive, i.e. powered on and reachable, what ports are open, what services are running, which versions they're using, and if any vulnerabilities exist. Think of scanning like knocking on every door and window of a building, trying to find out which one's open and what lies behind them. Scanning bridges recon and attack. Let's break it down in the hacker's mindset. 1. Footprinting, Module 4. Gather data about the target silently. 2. Scanning. Now, actively probe systems to discover entry points. 3. Exploitation upcoming. Use weaknesses to gain access. Types of scanning. We'll go deeper into these in the next videos, but here's a quick look. 1. Network scanning. Identifying active hosts. 2. Port scanning. Discovering open ports and their states. 3. Service scanning, determining what services are running. 4. Vulnerability scanning, finding known flaws or misconfigurations. Tools you'll use. Some essential tools for scanning include Nmap, the king of network scanning. Netcat, for banner grabbing and testing ports. Zenmap, GUI for Nmap, great for beginners. Nikto, for web vulnerability scanning. Masscan, extremely fast network scanner. We'll demonstrate each one in action later in this module. Important note, ethics first. Never scan any target without permission. Unauthorized scanning is illegal and can land you in serious trouble. Always test in a controlled lab or with written consent from the target organization. Recap. Scanning is the first step in active information gathering. It tells us what systems, services, and ports are accessible. Tools like Nmap are essential for penetration testers. Ethics, legality, and caution are critical in this phase. Up next in 5.2, we'll break down the different types of scanning techniques like TCP/IP Connect, SYN scan, UDP scan, and more, including how hackers stay stealthy. Like, share, and subscribe to Secure7 for more real-world ethical hacking lessons. Module 5.2, Types of Scanning Techniques. Secure7 Ethical Hacking Course Script. Welcome back, cyber warriors. Now that you understand the purpose of scanning, it's time to explore the different techniques hackers use to probe systems and networks. In this lesson, 5.2, Types of Scanning Techniques, we'll break down how scanning works under the hood and what methods attackers use to stay stealthy or go loud. Let's dive in. 1. TCP Connect scan, full open scan. This is the most basic scan. It completes the full three-way TCP handshake. SYN, SYN-ACK, ACK. Tools NMAS-ST. Pros, easy to execute, reliable results. Cons, loud and easily detected by firewalls and intrusion detection systems, IDS. 2. SYN scan, half-open scan, stealth scan. Sends only SYN packets and listens for SYN-ACK without completing the handshake. Also known as stealth scan. Tools Nmap-S. Pros, faster and stealthier, avoids full connection, so less likely to be logged. Cons, may still be caught by advanced firewalls IDS. 3. Sends packets with no flags set. Tools Nmap and Pros, confuses some firewalls and systems. Cons, not very reliable, doesn't work on Windows systems, often blocked by firewalls. Fin scan, sends a fin flag only, mimicking the end of a connection. Tools Nmap-F. Pros, may bypass certain filters that expect SYN. Cons, same reliability issues as null scan, best on Unix-based systems. 5. Sends packets with fin URPSH flags lit, like a Christmas tree. Tools Nmap-SX. Pros, bypasses basic filters, confuses IDS. Cons, rarely used in modern setups, inconsistent results on newer systems. 6. UDP scan, scans UDP ports, which don't use handshakes like TCP. Tools Nmap-SU. Pros, reveals open services like DNS, SNMP, TFTP. Cons, slower than TCP, often blocked or rate limited. Firewalls may silently drop responses. Cap 7. Ping sweep ICMP scan, sends ICMP echo requests to identify live hosts. Tools Nmap-SEN. Pros, quickly maps network hosts. Cons, blocked by many systems, easy to detect. 8. Version detection scan, identifies software and versions of open ports. Tools NMSV. Pros, helps match vulnerabilities to specific versions. Cons, more aggressive, higher detection risk. 9. OS detection scan. Tries to fingerprint the operating system running on a target. Tools, Nmap. Pros, useful for customizing exploits. Cons, also loud and detectable. Ethical reminder. Never scan without permission. Even a simple ping sweep can trigger alerts and legal consequences. Always test in your lab, and don't poke anything you don't own or have explicit authorization for. Coming up next, in Module 5.3, we'll walk you through Nmap hands-on demos, including advanced options and live scanning examples on a test network. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Secure7 for daily cybersecurity learning. Module 5.3, Hands-on with Nmap, Basic to Advanced. Welcome back, future ethical hackers. You've learned what scanning is and explored the different scanning techniques. Now it's time to get your hands dirty. In this session, 5.3, Hands-on with Nmap, we'll run real-world scans in a safe lab setup. From basic host discovery to advanced service and OS detection, you're going to become a scanning ninja. Let's fire up the terminal and start hacking, ethically, of course. Part 1, Lab Setup Checklist. Before we begin, ensure the following are ready. Kali Linux VM as your attacker machine, target machine like Metasploitable2 or DVWA, both systems on same virtual network, terminal open and internet disconnected for safety. Part 2, Host Discovery, finding live devices. Let's start with identifying active machines. Ping sweep, bash nmap sn 192.168.1./24. This sends ICMP echo requests. Any replies indicate live hosts. Part 3, port scanning, open doors in the network. TCP connect scan, basic. Bash nmap st 192.168.1.5. This is a full TCP handshake. Very loud but works when SYN scan fails. SYN scan, stealth. Bash nmap ss 192.1.5. Fast and stealthier, great for general scans. UDP scan, bash nmap-su 192.168.1.5, scans UDP ports. Slow but finds DNS, SNMP, etc. Part 4, service and version detection. We want to know what's running behind those open ports. Bash nmap sv 192.168.1.5. This reveals web server version, FTP banner, SSH details, more attack surface. Part 5, operating system detection. Let's fingerprint the OS. Bash nmap show 192.168.1.5. This uses TCP IP stack quirks to guess the OS, Linux, Windows, etc. Part 6, aggressive scan. All in one, want everything in one command? Bash nmap-a 192.168.1.5. This includes OS detection, version detection, script scanning, tracer route. Warning, this is noisy. Avoid on real-world networks. Part 7, scan multiple targets. Bash nmap-ss 192.168.5, 192.168.1.10, or use ranges. Bash nmap-ss 192.168.5-10, or input from file, bash nmap-il targets.txt. Hasher Part 8, output results. Save scan results for reporting. Bash nmap-on basic scan.xt 192.168.1.5 nmap-xo xml scan.xml. You can even import XML into tools like Nmap or Dratis. Bonus, top ports only scan top 100 ports instead of all 65,535. Bash nmap, top ports 192.168.1.5. Use this to speed up your initial recon. Pro tip, Nmap scripting engine, NSE. Nmap has pre-built scripts to check for vulnerabilities, brute force logins, detect malware backdoors. Bash nmap script vol92.168.1.5. Use this carefully. We'll go deeper into NSE in a later module. Recap: host discovery, TCP, SYN, and UDP scanning. Version and OS detection. Multi-host scanning. Output formatting. Nmap scripts. Auro. You've now mastered the basics and some advanced Nmap scanning. In the next lesson, 5.4 banner grabbing and service enumeration, we'll explore how to dig deeper into the information provided by services running on open ports. Until then, practice your Nmap skills in the lab. Comment your results, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Secure7 for daily drops of hacking wisdom. Module 5.4, banner grabbing and service enumeration. Secure7 Ethical Hacking Course. Welcome back, hackers. You've identified open ports and scanned services using Nmap. Now it's time to dig deeper into those services and extract the juicy details they leak. This is called banner grabbing and service enumeration. The information we gather here helps us determine what vulnerabilities to target in the next phases. What is banner grabbing? Banner grabbing is the process of connecting to a service and retrieving information like software name and version, operating system, running modules or plugins, sometimes even the developer's name or internal paths. Why it matters. Older or unpatched software often gives away its identity in the banner, allowing us to search for known exploits. Tools for banner grabbing. Let's walk through some powerful tools. 1. Telnet. Simple but effective. Bash Telnet target IP port. Example, Bash Telnet 192.168.1.5 80. You might get an HTTP response with the server info, HTTP 1.1 200 OK. Server, Apache 2.2.8, Ubuntu. 2. Netcat NC, a hacker's Swiss Army knife. Bash NC NV 192.168.1.5 21. This connects to an FTP server and prints the banner. You can also manually send inputs like head HTTP 1.1. 3. Nmap scripts. Nmap scripting engine includes banner grabbing. Bash nmap-sv-scriptles banner 192.168.1.5. This will grab banners for multiple services at once. 4. Curl and Netcat for HTTP servers. Bash curl -192.168.1.5. This gives HTTP headers including server nginx 1.8.0. Nav server. What can you discover? Web server Apache Nginx IIS, FTP server VSFTPD, FileZilla, SSH version OpenSSH.x, mail server postfix sendmail, custom error pages, debug info in headers. Even a small detail could lead to a CVE, common vulnerability and exposure. Real-world example. You scan port 21 and find bash 220 VSFTPD 2.3.4. A known exploit exists for VSFTPD 2.34 with a malicious backdoor. That one detail leads to full system compromise. Enumeration versus scanning. Let's clarify the terms. Scanning, enumeration, identifies open ports, extracts information from services, passive or semi-active. Active engagement. What is open? What's inside? Enumeration is like interviewing the target after knocking on the door. Caution. Only perform enumeration on systems you own or have explicit permission to test. Many services log this activity. It can be considered suspicious or even malicious in live environments. Save your results. Always save banners and details for reporting and future reference. Bash nc-nv 192.168.1.5 80 webbanner.txt. Recap. What is banner grabbing? Tools: Telnet, Netcat, curl, Nmap. How to analyze banners. How to use banner info for exploitation. Difference between scanning and enumeration. Outro. Awesome work, hacker. Now that you've mastered how to extract banner information and enumerate services, you're a step closer to identifying vulnerable entry points. In the next session, 5.5 Vulnerability Scanning Basics, we'll take the information from scanning and enumeration and see how to automate vulnerability discovery using tools like Nikto, OpenVAS, and Nessus. Until then, keep practicing, take notes, and subscribe to Secure7 if you haven't already. Module 5.5, Vulnerability Scanning Basics. Secure7 Ethical Hacking Masterclass. Welcome back to the Secure7 Ethical Hacking course. We've scanned the network, grabbed banners, and now it's time to go hunting for known weaknesses. In this module, we'll explore vulnerability scanning, using tools to detect potential security holes in systems, applications, and services. This is one of the most critical phases in ethical hacking and penetration testing. What is vulnerability scanning? Vulnerability scanning is the automated process of identifying security flaws in a system. It involves comparing software versions with known vulnerabilities, testing misconfigurations, searching for outdated systems, highlighting missing patches or insecure settings. Unlike exploitation, you're not actively attacking, you're mapping the risk. Types of vulnerability scanners. There are two main types. 1. Network-based scanners, used to scan systems over the network. Examples: Nessus, OpenVAS. 2. Web application scanners, scan websites for issues like SQL injection, XSS, etc. Examples: Nikto, OWASP, Zap. Some scanners are passive, while others are active and can crash systems. Always test responsibly. Popular vulnerability scanning tools. Nessus by Tenable, industry standard, easy-to-use GUI, finds thousands of known vulnerabilities, requires registration. Nessus is excellent for deep vulnerability audits. OpenVAS, Open Vulnerability Assessment System, free and open source, used in enterprise environments, powerful but needs setup. Command line and web interface support. Nikto for web servers. Bash Nikto ah/target.com scans for outdated server software, default files, and dangerous scripts. Very fast but noisy, easily detected. WHOIS, perfect for web app scanning, has a GUI and automation API, checks for common web vulnerabilities. Tip: always run scans in safe mode for production environments. Have responsible scanning tips. Always get permission before scanning. Don't scan public IPs without consent. Avoid scanning production systems without proper coordination. Some scans can cause DUS-like behavior, especially with Nikto or openness. Had difference. Scanning versus exploitation. Scanning, exploitation, identifies vulnerabilities, actively uses them. Safe, mostly, can be dangerous. Non-intrusive, if passive. Intrusive and loud. Scanning is like a doctor's checkup. Exploitation is surgery. Exporting reports tools like Nessus and OpenVAS let you export scan results in HTML, PDF, CSV, JSON. These reports are crucial for communicating findings to your client or company. Recap: scanning finds known vulnerabilities. Use tools like Nessus, OpenVAS, Nikto, Zap. Focus on identifying, not exploiting. Always scan responsibly and with permission. Export results for reporting and auditing. Great job, hacker. Vulnerability scanning is one of the most valuable and in-demand skills in cybersecurity. You've just added a major tool to your ethical hacking toolkit. In the next lesson, 5.6, we'll discuss how to analyze vulnerabilities and begin prioritizing and preparing for exploitation. Until then, practice, test on your lab, and subscribe to Secure7 for more. Module 5.6, Analyzing and Prioritizing Vulnerabilities. Secure7 Ethical Hacking Masterclass. Welcome back to Secure7, future ethical hacker. You've scanned networks, discovered weaknesses, but now the question is, which ones really matter? Which are urgent? Which are noise? That's where vulnerability analysis and prioritization come in, the final and crucial part of the scanning phase. What is vulnerability analysis? Vulnerability analysis is the process of reviewing, interpreting, and understanding the results from scanning tools like Nessus, OpenVAS, Nikto, Zap, and Nmap scripts. It's all about identifying the real-world impact and determining what's exploitable versus what's not. Understanding CVSS scores. The Common Vulnerability Scoring System, CVSS, is used to rate vulnerabilities on a scale from 0.0 to 10.0, score range severity, 9.0 to 10.0, critical, 7.0, 8.9, high, 4.6.9, medium, 0.1 to 3.9, low, 0.0, informational. Each CVE, Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures ID, will usually come with a CVSS score. Example, CVE 2021-41s and 7.3, Apache Path Traversal, has a score of 9.8. Key factors for prioritizing vulnerabilities. Not all critical-looking vulnerabilities are equally important. Consider 1. Exploitability. Is there a public exploit available? Can it be weaponized easily, e.g. via Metasploit? 2. Impact. Can it leak data, allow RCE, remote code execution, crash the system? 3. Exposure. Is the service exposed to the internet or internal only? Is it behind a firewall? 4. Asset importance. Is this system critical, e.g. domain controller, database server, or a low-risk test machine? Example, prioritizing findings. Let's say Nessus gives you OpenFTP with anonymous login, CVSS 7.5, OpenSSH outdated version, C5.4, Apache directory traversal 9.8. How do you prioritize? Answer: 1. Apache vulnerability equals critical equals priority 1. 2. FTP anonymous login equals high equals priority 2, 3. OpenSSH outdated medium, priority 3. Using tools to help prioritize. Many platforms now offer risk-based vulnerability management. Tenable.io, Qualys VMDR, Rapid7 Insight VM open vast dashboards. They include filters, scoring asset context, and sometimes even machine learning to help you focus on what matters. Reporting the findings. Organize your findings with vulnerability name, affected host, CVSS, description level, recommendation. Affected hosts, this kind of structure helps clients, employers, or teams understand and act quickly. ASH, avoid these mistakes. Blindly trusting scanner results, always verify. Ignoring low-severity findings that can lead to chain attacks. Not considering the context of the target system. Overloading reports with 100+ findings without clear priorities. Recap. Vulnerability analysis is critical after scanning. Use CVSS, exploitability, impact, and context to prioritize. Focus on real threats, not just big numbers. Use structured reports for communication. Avoid panic. Act with precision. Congratulations, you're now capable of going beyond scanning and thinking like a real hacker. Strategic, selective, and surgical. In the next module, we'll transition into Module 6, Gaining Access, where scanning becomes action. Until then... Hey everyone, welcome to the very first module of our Complete Ethical Hacking Masterclass, brought to you by Secure7, where you don't just learn hacking, you learn it the right way. Whether you're someone curious about how hackers think, or you're serious about becoming a cybersecurity professional, you're in the perfect place. Here at Secure7, we don't just teach theory. We go deep into real-world tools, hands-on labs, and mindset training so you can build real hacking skills from scratch. And this isn't just a crash course. This is your full roadmap to becoming a certified ethical hacker. No fluff, no shortcuts, just pure structured content from beginner to advanced. By the end of this masterclass, you'll not only understand how hackers break into systems, you'll know how to stop them. So if you're serious about cybersecurity, go ahead and subscribe, like, and hit that bell icon, because every module builds on the last, and you won't want to miss a single one. All right, let's kick things off with Module 1, Introduction to Ethical Hacking. Hey everyone, and welcome to Module 1 of the Ethical Hacking Masterclass, right here on Secure7. The place where hacking meets purpose. I'm genuinely excited that you've chosen to begin this journey with us. Whether you're a curious beginner, a tech enthusiast, or even someone from IT looking to shift into cybersecurity, this course is designed to help you build real skills from scratch. Now, before we dive deep into commands, exploits, and firewalls, let's take a moment to set the stage. What you'll learn in this module. Over the next few videos, you're going to learn 1. What ethical hacking really is and how it's different from criminal hacking. 2. Types of hackers. White hats, black hats, gray hats. Yes, it's like a digital Wild West out there. 3. Legal and ethical responsibilities, because one wrong click can get you in trouble if you're not careful. 4. Career opportunities. What kind of jobs exist? What certs can help you get hired? We'll break it all down. 5. How to set up your own hacking lab, a safe virtual environment where you can experiment and practice without breaking any laws. Sounds good, right? Quick gossip time. Did you know a 13-year-old once hacked into a school network and changed his grades, and then posted a tutorial on Reddit? Bold move. Not ethical, but shows how early and curious some hackers start. The key difference? Intent and permission. That's what separates ethical hackers from criminals. By the end of this module, you'll not only understand what ethical hacking is, you'll start thinking like a hacker. And that's where transformation begins. So grab your notebook, hydrate, and stick around. This is going to be fun. And hey, if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. Hit that bell too, so you don't miss the next module. Let's move on to Section 1.2. What is ethical hacking? Welcome back to Secure7, and let's get into the real meat of this module. What is ethical hacking? So, what is ethical hacking? Let me break it down in simple terms. Ethical hacking, also called white hat hacking, is when you legally and deliberately break into computer systems to find security flaws before the bad guys do. That's right, you're breaking into systems with permission. It's like when a bank hires someone to test if their vault can be cracked. Not to steal money, but to make sure no one else can. Ethical hackers think like malicious hackers, but act with integrity. You simulate real cyber attacks so companies can fix their defenses. Now here's where it gets cool. Imagine a company as a digital castle. You're the knight who's trying to sneak in, not to attack the king, but to find the secret tunnels before the enemy does. Sounds fun, right? Cyber gossip break. A few years ago, a hacker found a vulnerability on Facebook that let him post on anyone's timeline, including Mark Zuckerberg's. He reported the bug, and although Facebook initially ignored him, the exploit made it public. And guess what? After the backlash, he ended up receiving a bounty reward and major respect from the community. That's the power of ethical hacking. You can expose flaws, help protect people, and even get paid. Why ethical hacking matters. We live in a time when everything is online. Banking, healthcare, government records, even refrigerators. If something has a network, it can be hacked. And companies know that. That's why ethical hackers are in massive demand, from startups to Fortune 500s, from hospitals to military intelligence. And trust me, this field is only growing. Skills used in ethical hacking. As an ethical hacker, you'll learn to scan networks and systems for weaknesses, exploit those weaknesses safely, report findings in clear, professional ways, use tools like Kali Linux, Nmap, Metasploit, Burp Suite, and more. Understand how systems are built and how they break. It's not just about hacking, it's about problem solving, creativity, and thinking like an attacker to build stronger defense. Remember, permission is everything. Hacking without permission, even just out of curiosity, is still illegal. If you're not authorized, it's called black hat hacking. And yes, people go to jail for it every year. Ethical hacking is powerful, but only when it's controlled, legal, and ethical. So to sum it up, ethical hacking is the art of thinking like a hacker, but acting like a professional. You're not just learning how to break things, you're learning how to secure the digital world. That's it for this section. In the next one, we'll talk about the types of hackers: white hats, black hats, gray hats, and even the chaotic ones in between. It's going to get interesting, so stay tuned, and make sure you're subscribed to Secure7. Welcome back, Hacker in Training. In this section on Secure7, we're diving into the many shades of hackers. Spoiler alert, not all hackers wear hoodies in dark basements, but some do. Let's break down the different types of hackers you'll hear about in the cybersecurity world. Each one has a different mindset, mission, and moral compass. 1. White hat hackers, the good guys. That's you, or at least who you're becoming. White hat hackers work legally and ethically, often hired by companies to test their systems for vulnerabilities. They follow laws, work under contracts, and help make the digital world safer. Quick story. Companies like Google and Apple have official bug bounty programs, paying white hat hackers thousands of dollars to report bugs. Some ethical hackers make six figures just from bounties. 2. Black hat hackers, the bad guys. These are the cyber criminals you hear about in the news. They break into systems illegally, steal data, destroy networks, hold companies ransom with malware or ransomware, all for money, power, revenge, or chaos. They're dangerous and smart, and the reason ethical hackers are in such high demand. Gossip time. In 2017, the WannaCry ransomware attack infected over 200,000 computers across 150 countries, including hospitals. It was a black hat attack, and it changed cybersecurity forever. Gray hat hackers, the wild cards. Gray hats operate in a fuzzy zone. They don't always have permission, but they're not doing it for profit either. Maybe they hack into a system just to report a flaw or to prove a point. They're like digital vigilantes, sometimes helpful, sometimes causing trouble. Fun fact: a gray hat once hacked into a city's surveillance system just to expose how insecure it was. They didn't steal anything, but still broke the law. Helpful, but risky. Hari 4. Script kiddies, the copy-pasters. These are usually newbies who don't fully understand how hacking works. They download ready-made tools or scripts and launch attacks without much knowledge. They're not usually very dangerous, unless they accidentally trigger something big. Example: a script kiddie once took down a school's Wi-Fi because he didn't want to write a math exam. That's dedication and poor decision-making. 5. Hacktivists, the rebels. These are politically or socially motivated hackers. They deface websites, leak documents, or launch DDoS attacks to protest or make a statement. Groups like Anonymous are well-known hacktivist collectives. Sometimes they're seen as heroes, sometimes as threats. It depends on your perspective. Bonus: state-sponsored hackers. These are hackers employed by governments to attack other countries. Think cyber warfare, espionage, disrupting elections, stealing military secrets. Yeah, this is James Bond-level hacking. Big headline: the Stuxnet worm was allegedly developed by the US and Israel to sabotage Iran's nuclear program. It physically destroyed hardware through code. Powerful stuff. Why this matters for you. Understanding hacker types helps you know the enemy, think strategically, develop an ethical mindset, recognize how intent defines the label. It's not just about what you do. It's about why and how you do it. So, quick recap. Hat intent, legal, motivation, white good, yes, defense, security, black, malicious, no, money, power, gray, mixed. Usually not curiosity, justice, Kitty random, mostly not, fun chaos. Hacktivist political, no, activism. State political, often not, cyber warfare. Up next in section 1.4, we'll talk about the legal and ethical rules you absolutely need to know, because without them, even good intentions can lead to real consequences. Make sure you're subscribed to Secure7, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Welcome back to Secure7. Before you even type a single command into a terminal, you need to understand this. With great power comes great responsibility. Yes, we're getting serious now, because this stuff can literally make or break your career. Ethical hacking is only ethical if it's done legally and responsibly. Let's break it down. Why legal and ethical knowledge matters. You might be learning hacking techniques for good reasons, but intent alone isn't enough. If you touch a system, a server, a website, or even a Wi-Fi network without permission, you could be breaking the law. And we're not talking about a slap on the wrist. We're talking fines, job bans, even jail time. Yep, even scanning a network without consent can get you into trouble. Cyber gossip time. In 2012, a famous hacker named Andrew Weave Auernheimer discovered that AT&T had an exposed API leaking iPad user data. Instead of reporting it responsibly, he publicized it and ended up serving over a year in prison, even though he didn't technically hack anything in the traditional sense.